We'll go ahead and get started. So hello, everyone, and welcome to our June Hope session, The Ebb and Flow of Grief, a guided movement meditation. So I'm Heidi Parker. My pronouns are she, her. I am the Community Initiatives Manager here at UCLA Arts and Healing. I'm your Zoom host today. This program is presented as part of our free Hope series, Healing Online for People Everywhere. We created this to support the resilience of our global community through social emotional arts. And each workshop offers a supportive space for connection, healing, and empowerment as we navigate the changes in our world. If you have previously attended a Hope session, welcome back. If you are new, thank you for joining us today. We're grateful you're here to create and learn together and grow together as a community. So today's program is in a meeting format. Please keep yourself muted until prompted otherwise. We are recording today's session speaker view. We do pause the recording during any reflection, and it is shared on our YouTube channel to be watched later as a recording. So you are welcome to leave your cameras on as you feel comfortable, as we'd love for you to actively participate. You're also invited to use the reactions feature to support each other while sharing or during any other part of today's session. We are scheduled for an hour, so please feel free to add any questions in the chat as they arise, or you can use the raise hand function. Before we begin today, we would like to start by acknowledging the Tongva Nation, on whose land the city of Los Angeles, where we are based, rests today. We hold respect and gratitude for the Tongva people who still consider themselves the caretakers of this land. And by their example, we are reminded of our responsibility to our planet and to one another. So let's take a moment in our own way to honor the Indigenous communities of past and present on whose land you are joining from today. So I would like to welcome today's presenter. Jamie Morrison is a professor of movement at California State University, Northridge, where she teaches dance, expressive movement, thematic theory, as well as stages multidisciplinary experimental productions. She holds a PhD in performance studies from New York University. She was a faculty Fulbright scholar in movement in Lisbon, Portugal. And with Morning Surf, she turns her attention to grief and the body, specifically how grief is expressed physically, and how movement is an essential part of the grieving and healing process. For the international organization Hope for Widows, she developed a series of expressive movement workshops offered via Zoom throughout the pandemic, and continues to build on this work by facilitating movement for grief workshops in collaboration with Camp Widow and Toucan retreats, as well as private coaching sessions. Her award-winning experimental film, Upwell, is a meditation on loss and hope, seen through the lens of two embodied practices she holds dear, surfing and dance. And thank you, Jamie, so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Heidi, and thank you all so much for being here. That was a lovely introduction. I am very happy to be here and leading this movement meditation today. I feel that there's not a lot of space in our culture for metabolizing grief as a community. And there's so much grief in the world right now, personally and culturally. And so I'm really thankful for you for showing up today and for bringing whatever you're bringing to the space. And I really believe, and I've seen how movement can bring about new ways of being and healing, and that is partly from my own story. So I'm going to start today's session with two quotes. I'm thematically orienting the movement meditation today using the metaphor of water and the ocean. And this is in part because these have been so healing to me in my own grief journey. And so I want to share with you some of the ways that I've connected with the ocean and with the image of water through movement to help move through and with the ocean, the waves of grief. The first quote is, "The cure for anything is salt water. Sweat, Tears, and the Sea. And that is Isak Dinesen. And that quote really resonates with me. And the other quote is from Bessel van der Kolk, the author of The Body Keeps the Score, a book I'm sure many of you are familiar with. He writes, "The collective movement and music create a larger context for our lives and meaning beyond our individual fate." And so even though we're on Zoom doing this workshop, I hope that we can feel a bit like a community and to feel the movement resonate. I know that some of you have your cameras off, but I will invite you when we get up and start moving a bit to put your camera on if you feel like it, so that we can create a sense of collective movement. So, but you're all very welcome to participate in this workshop, however you are feeling it today. And that includes staying seated if you wish, and just doing the movement with your heart, or with your arms, whatever feels right to you, because this is really about making you feel good. I think of this work, I'm a surfer, and I talk about what's in your quiver, and surfboards are counted in quivers, just like arrows are. And so I sort of feel like movement can be another tool, or another tool in your quiver for grief. And so I'm offering this workshop as a way and giving you sort of another tool to think about grief. I am not a therapist, but I have been teaching movement most of my life, and I've been offering and teaching movement for grief for about 5 years. And my work as a professor, I teach movement for actors and dancers, and it was a very natural way for me to move into the grief space using the body to express grief. I have had a lot of loss in my life. I lost my father when I was a teenager. And what brought me to this work was the death of my husband, Jim, from brain cancer. And I found that after he died, I lost a great sense of my own identity. And I felt like I had to build myself back up from the studs. And so movement and creativity has really been part of that process. And so I made a short film titled Upwell, and the title of the film was actually, in the beginning, it was Undertow, and it really expressed the way that I felt that grief had just submerged me under the water, and I almost sort of wanted to just surrender to that feeling of being under the waves. And gradually, through the process of making the film and collaborating with people and thinking creatively about something that I was making as a result of my grief, I changed the title to Upwell, which means technically it's the infusion of new water into the ocean, and it also refers to a swell of emotion. So it was a perfect metaphor for the film. And so today, we are going to move in between the undertow and the upwell. We're going to be in this sort of between space. And I often feel that grief does leave us in this liminal space where we are both part of this world, but we're also part of the world with our lost one, or with whatever loss it is, that we're sort of living in two worlds at once. And so that is where movement comes in to me, that we can literally, how can we move with, not past our grief, but move with our grief, reshaping it and transforming how it feels in our body. And I'm just curious if anyone has a place in their body or a physical manifestation of their grief. If you feel like putting that in the chat, I would love to know where does grief show up in your body? How does it show up? I've had vertigo as a result of grief, which is a very seemingly strange sensation, but I know it is related to my grief. A feeling of heaviness. I've also felt very numb, an absence of feeling as a result of my grief. So there's a very there's a very wide range of ways that I feel that grief can manifest in our bodies, and it can kind of get stuck there if we don't deal with it. I know that there's a very popular book, and it's a beautiful book called The Grieving Brain, that talks about the neurobiology of grief. And I think we also have to acknowledge that there is a very physical story there as well as of grief. Heaviness, throat, yes. Being numb, chest, stomach, lower back pain, stabbing. Yes, absolutely. And so this work today, and in the work that I do in the longer workshops, is what I think of it really as an excavation, so that we're listening to our body. We're not necessarily trying to think through this problem, but let our body attend to it and flow through it. And so we don't know what will bubble up. So there's a sense in which there is a great deal of wisdom that our body holds. And I think just taking the time and the space to listen to what it is telling us is a little bit of a different mindset. And I hope that you'll adapt whatever we do for your own physicality and for your own needs. As one of my favorite choreographers is Pina Bausch, and she said that she wasn't just interested in movement as in what moves people. And this workshop isn't about being a dancer or looking a certain way, but how movement is an expression of your inner world and how that feels. And so that's a very different way of approaching a movement. And so I hope that we can tap into that together. And one of the reasons why I'm offering this workshop so focused around the ocean and the water is because I feel that the ocean brings us in touch with both our vulnerability and our vitality. And it has a great ability to cleanse, to heal, and transform. And so while we're not at the beach, we're not actually submerged in water, we'll be using some of the metaphors and some of the images of water as we move through this workshop. I, again, felt very submerged in grief after the loss of my husband, and I connected to what Julian Barnes, the writer, wrote after he lost his wife. He said, grief is cataclysmic submersion. It's like falling overboard in the sea and not knowing how to swim. And that to me, that spoke to me, that sort of sense of helplessness. And when I felt that way, I thought of a quote from Virginia Woolf that I thought was equally beautiful. And she says, beneath it is all dark, it is all spreading, unfathomably deep, but now and again we rise to the surface, and that is what you see us by. Her horizon seemed limitless. And so this idea that we must plumb the depths in order to surface, in order to rise, was very resonant for me. And we'll play with this idea of grounding into the depths, grounding into the bottom, in order to let the rest of the body sort of float and arise to the surface. And Bonnie Swee has written a beautiful book called Why We Swim. And in her introduction, she says, to find rhythm in the water is to discover a new way of being in the world through flow. This is about our human relationship to water and how immersion can open up our imaginations. And I just love that connection between the idea of immersion and imagination. And today we're going to experiment with our own fluidity, becoming fluid beings and moving with our grief. So we're not going to move to escape these feelings, but to rather embrace them. So let's dive in together. So for this opening meditation, I will invite you can lay down, you can get comfortable, you can stay seated, however you wish. I'm going to lead a brief meditation, and then we'll do some stretching in our chairs. And then we're going to stand up and we're going to do some flow. And then we'll conclude the movement with a guided movement meditation. And if there's still time, I'd love to share my film with you. And then I'm going to leave you with a journal prompt that you can feel free to continue the session offline and engage with the journal prompt. And that is sort of the sequence of this session today. So are there any questions? Anyone has any comments or questions? You can always put them in the chat. Okay. Okay. So as you settle in, I invite you to close your eyes for these few moments if you'd like to. And just begin to soften. And begin to bring your attention to your breathing. Gentle inhale and exhale. See if you can distinguish sounds in your space that are near and sounds that are far. Tuning in to your space, to your body. What can you hear beyond your hearing? Bring your attention to whatever your body is touching. Could be your clothing, the floor. Softening into the floor, letting it support you as you release. Thinking of your breath as movement, noticing the changes in your body, in your diaphragm, in your back body, as you begin to bring in more breath. What parts of your body are moving? Imagining the breath filling you up and pulling you deep into the seat of your emotions, and then exhaling and releasing. Imagine that the breath is entering through the soles of your feet and coming up through your hips, up to your shoulders, and all the way up through the top of your head, and then exhaling it all the way back down through your body, as if it was a wave coming in, the tide coming in and up. And then as you exhale, it recedes back down through your body. The ebb and flow of the water coming in through your breath, the rhythm coming in through your breath rhythm. Can you let yourself be borne along the water? Maybe the breath is a wave, rising gently and gently falling. And you are just the feather on the wave, along for the ride. Can you feel the rise and fall of your breath through your whole body? Can you bring sensation to your whole body? Bring your awareness to the ways in which you are fluid already. Can you feel the water inside you? Whether it's tears or sweat or blood or whatever kind of fluid? Can you feel it moving and pulsing within you? Can you bring a sense of flow to your internal world? And I'd like you to send some energy, whether it's through breath or actually by bringing a light touch to a certain part of your body that you feel your grief show up. So whether it's your chest, your pelvis, stomach, breathing into the warmth of your hands, sending love and healing into this part of your body, and mostly using the exhale, the ebb, the release, letting go. Can you make the ebb a little bit more important than the flow right now? Lengthening the exhale. And now let yourself imagine that you're floating on water. If that's something that makes you feel good, lay back, let your head release, and let the water hold you. Release your pelvis, your knees, your ankles. Let yourself be borne up by the sense of water underneath you. See if you can use that image to let go a little more, to hold a little less tightly. And can you try to maintain a little bit of this softness, this sense of ebb and letting go as we move into the rest of the session and we start to move? Can you carry some of this sense of fluidity with you? Can you maintain it? So take a couple of breaths, a little bit bigger breaths, coming back into your body. Maybe start to gently move your fingertips and your toes. Bringing a little bit of energy back inside. And we'll transition now to a seated stretch. So I'll give you a little bit to come back, opening your eyes. You can come back to the camera if you wish. And remembering to maintain some of that, some of what you created internally. So we're going to keep this idea of the water, and we're going to do a little spinal wave. And so what this is I have my hands on my knees, see, and I'm going to just gently curve my pelvis. I'm going to tilt my pelvis back and curve my head down. And then I'm going to inhale and roll through my spine all the way back till my head is back. And so if we were doing this in yoga, it would be the cat-cow movement. So we're just moving the spine in a wave. Okay. and we're going to add the breath. And so I'm going to put on some music, and then we'll add the arms forward and open, and forward and open. And you can think about what you want to gather in for yourself and what you want to release as we're doing the movement. So those are sort of the intentions of the movement. So I'm going to put on some music, and we'll start with a very simple spinal wave. Add the arms open and slowly exhale. Areas of flatter and get smaller. Stay up. I hope everyone's feeling a little bit more stretched out, a little bit warmer. So now I'll invite you to stand if you'd like. You can certainly stay seated if you wish, but I'm going to stand. Push my chair away. Yes, hopefully the audio is better now. So I'm going to, again, guide you through some movement with music, but just to talk you through it first, let's spread our feet. And if you're seated, you can do this as well. Spread your feet on the floor and make a real connection with the floor. Maybe spread your toes, feel the ball of your foot on the floor and your heels. And I want you to imagine that you're grounding in almost like a electric socket. It's plugging into the floor, to the ground, that you're really feeling that sense of a lock or a connection with the floor that you're in. And from that, feel a sense of elongation up out of the floor, up towards the ceiling. And you can almost imagine that you have a band around your head, and it's gently, just ever so gently, pulling you upward, so that you have this sort of polarity within your body of grounding down and at the same time, gently lifting up or suspending. And so from here, I'm just going to circle my knees very gently and find a little fluidity in my lower body, circling my knees back and forth. Good. Yeah, you can have your hands on your hips if you like, or you can have your hands on your thighs. And then we're going to take it into and let it be reflected in our hips. Making circles and spirals. Good. And then I'm going to take it into a gentle rock side to side with my arms. And then I'll be adding a step. And then we'll conclude by taking our arms all the way up, holding our elbows and reaching up, up, and up. And my image for this exercise is actually kelp, and how grounded kelp is and how weighted it is in the water, and yet how it emerges towards the top of the ocean. So this idea of being grounded at the bottom and yet reaching up taller and having a sense of light and space at the top. So that is my image for this movement sequence. So you can sort of visualize kelp or seaweed in the ocean for this movement. Jing. Beautiful. And then let's just bring our arms down by our sides. And you can close your eyes or you can keep them open. And I want to bring back the sense of floating that we had on the floor. Imagine that you are floating on a calm ocean. You're being held by the water. It's cool, it's refreshing. And you're enjoying the weightlessness of your body. Top of the wave. Unbroken part of the wave. Wave. Deep. However you envision that. Sorry, Zoom can be a little crazy with the sounds. So just what I was saying is that waves are bodies as well, and that they have a lip, which is the top crest of the wave. They have a shoulder, which is the breaking part that's extending into space. And they have a face, which is the steep part of the wave. And so I just wanted you to experiment with how you can create wave movement in your body. And whatever that is, it's sort of rolling, spiraling, unfurling, curling. Yes, that's beautiful, Bria and Kate. Yes, lovely. And I love how you're getting your head into it. That's great. And so I'm talking you through this idea that you can play with images of rolling and splashing, swirling, lapping, crashing, finding these little pockets of explosion of a wave, whatever feels good to your body. We'll just do this for a few more minutes, but really trying to embody and connect with the movement of the wave itself. Can you have a dialogue with the wave? Let it get a little bit bigger. We're gonna let the waves roar now. Getting a little bit bigger. Let's take it back slowly. You can come back to your eyes closed if you want. Let's not let it go just yet. Let's rock. And just tapping in to your own sense of fluidity. How has it shifted or moved since you arrived? Do you feel any more fluid? Do you feel any more at ease? Able to move through life? Water amplifies the body's knowledge because it's multisensory. And so we're tapping into that with our movement. And so that was a little introduction. You can come back to sitting now. How do you guys feel? You can put it in the chat, or you can just say anything that comes to mind about how your body might feel differently now. More peaceful. Yeah, I'm sorry about the sound of the music. It's a lot easier when we do this in person. Release at ease. Beautiful. There's a poem that I want to share. I love floating. Thank you for everyone. Yes, being brave, I know. Thank you all. And I hope that you really understand the difference between movement and dance, that that everybody can move, you know, that whatever way that you can show up for that. Anatomy of a wave, tip, shoulder, face. Yes. Our sister waves. Beautiful. I love that. So this is a poem by Judy Brown, and it's called Trough. And it speaks to this idea of ebb and flow, and how in grief, it is such a beautiful metaphor, because we have these moments when grief is so present in our bodies, and sometimes it recedes a little bit and then it comes back, and then there can be this sort of rogue wave of grief where it just comes out of nowhere and you have no idea why, and it just hits you. And she, I think, expresses this so beautifully, this sense. She says, there's a trough in the waves, a low spot where the horizon disappears and only sky and water are our company. And there we lose our way unless we rest, knowing the wave will bring us to its crest again. If we rest in the trough, in silence, being with the low part of the wave, keeping our energy and noticing the shape of things, the flow, will bring us together to another place where we can see horizon and see the land again, regain our sense of where we are and where we need to swim. And I love this sense of being with, that we are with our feelings. We're not moving away from them, but we're being with them when we move. It's not about purging them necessarily, but incorporating it in a healthy way. So I'm going to show my short film right now as a way of ending our session. And this is a film that I made. It's 6 minutes, and the seed of the film was created when I lost my husband. I hadn't surfed in a while because he had been on hospice, and I paddled out into the water about 2 weeks after he died, and I couldn't surf, but I was just sitting in the ocean, and there just happened to be a lot of women in the water that day, and each one of them paddled over to me wordlessly and just gave me a hug and then left and went on their way. And it was this beautiful wordless ritual, and it inspired this film, Upwell. And I actually incorporated many of those women into the film. So it was a real labor of love. So I'm really happy to share this with you. It's called Upwell, and I will play it right now. Perfect.
Great.
Oh, thank you for making that work for us, Heidi. I really appreciate it. So that was my love letter to the ocean and to the community that I had around me in grief. And thank you so much for letting me share that with you. And I just felt that it would be a lovely reflection and conclusion to our investigations today. So thank you for all your lovely comments. I posted the link to the film in the chat if you'd like to view it, and we'll be sending out some resources. I also wrote a piece about surfing and grief that I'd love to share with you, and an interview that I recently did with Seven Ponds, which is a bereavement community. But I wanted to leave you quickly with a journal prompt in case you wanted to continue thinking about this. And I also have, yes, I have a Spotify playlist that I can share with you as well for my grief workshops. And you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Morning Surf. I'll put it in the chat.
And we'll be sending those out in that follow-up email as well too, Jamie.
Yeah, great. If you're interested in doing an in-person workshop or retreat. So this is the prompt, and you can do this. You don't have to do it. This is just for you. You can share it with me in an email, whatever you like. So the prompt is, write about a body of water that you feel connected to. It could be a river, a stream, a lake, an ocean. How is this body of water connected to your own body? What would this body of water say to you? What if this water was your body? So I can say all of that again. Write about a body of water that you feel connected to. It could be a river, a tub, a lake, a stream, an ocean. How is this body of water connected to your own body? What would this water say to you? What if this water was your body? Thank you, Heidi. And that last part is really about, again, not just the idea of all that the ocean can hold for us, because I think that the ocean is big enough to hold our grief, but what can we offer the ocean? What form can our gratitude take to cherish the oceans as if they were part of our bodies, as if our life depended on them? And this definitely, I have read Blue Mind, and this is part of, I think, trying to make an intersection between movement and dance and blue health, blue humanities. And I'm going to be going to Spain in October to participate in a working group that is at an intersection between the medical humanities and art and literature. So I'm really excited about that, and hopefully maybe I'll come back and share a little bit about what I've been doing there. But I want to thank you all so much for being here, for showing up, and for participating in this workshop and this session. It's been such a pleasure.
And I want to thank Jamie for leading us through this just powerful session today. So amazing to connect with all of you and have this just inspiring movement focused hope. I know we don't always have movement, so thank you so much, Jamie, for sharing that with us today. I just want to acknowledge the LA Department of Arts and Culture. They do support the Hope series, so we really appreciate their support of the arts. And then also just our upcoming programs and trainings. Hope for the next few months is up and available to register. So we have a music and mindfulness focus session in July, an art making mindfulness in August, and then September is a little different. We're going to you can bring a family member, a roommate, a partner, but it's really going to be like how we can connect with each other through art and social emotional learning. So we're excited about that one as well. And then just have a mindful creativity retreat coming up in September that is just being announced. So there's some details on our site, but more will be posted over the next week. It will be offered at a sliding scale. We really want everybody to be able to access that day and attend. So please reach out if you have any questions once you see that posting on the site. I did put the survey in the chat. So of course, we always appreciate your feedback on our sessions and also what you want to see going forward. And as we've mentioned, I will be sending all of these amazing resources later on today. I absolutely hope that you all have a wonderful, restful, healing weekend. And I look forward to seeing you all at a future Hope session.